Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I thought it would be a good day on the quick tip that we're doing to talk about annealing and work hardening, because that's an important part of the process of making jewelry. So that's what we'll be talking about. I'll talk a little bit about how silver gets work hardened, and then I'll talk about how to change that. So let's get started. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks that are available on my merch store. This particular one has some information about different solder flow temperatures. I find that kind of stuff useful. Some of the other ones have different information on them, like conversion charts and ring sizing things, stuff like that. So get yourself one or two of these. I find them invaluable for keeping track of my projects. I started doing that when I first started this channel. I didn't previously used to draw things up so much, but I really like what I have here now because I have a permanent record of what I've made that I can refer to if I need to. But it's got this nice dot matrix in the background that I find useful because I'm not terribly good at drawing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about annealing and work hardening. So generally when I buy my silver materials, I buy them in a state called dead soft, and dead soft means they've annealed it to the point where it's as soft as you can make it, as far as I understand. And I like it that way because I'm going to be bending it and shaping it and pounding on it and twisting it, all these different kind of mechanical processes, and those kind of things start to work harden it. So work hardening happens because what's going on is metals are crystalline by nature, and so they form patterns with their internal components, like the atoms and molecules that make them up. And when it's dead soft, all of the molecules and atoms in there, in this case with sterling silver, it's copper and silver, so there's two distinct atoms in there, but they're all kind of randomized the way they're situated. And when you start to compress or twist or pull wire through a draw plate or bang on it with a hammer, it starts to move those crystal structures around and get them interlocked with each other, and it gets harder and harder the more you do it, and can get up to the point where if you continue to work it, it'll break. It becomes brittle and cracks and things like that. So it's not always ideal to have really work hardened metal, and annealing is the way to deal with that. As an example, I have this piece of 18 gauge wire, and it's dead soft right now, so when you bend it, it stays in that position. It's not very springy. But what I'm going to do is, normally I don't buy ear wires pre-made. I make my own ear wires, and a lot of times I don't buy 20 gauge wire, which is what I make them out of. But if I did, I would buy it either half hard or in some sort of state where it's much harder than dead soft. It's easy enough just to make your own ear wires. I take some 18 gauge round wire and pull it through a draw plate a few times. And what's going on is it's really compressing that metal as it gets smaller and smaller in diameter and stretching out longer and longer, so it becomes really springy when you do that. And with ear wires, you want them to be kind of springy. So generally I do that in order to have some 20 gauge wire, but also to have springy 20 gauge wire. Now if I want wire that's not springy like that, and I've made it through by pulling it through the draw plate, then I'll want to anneal it afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this piece of 18 gauge until it's 20 gauge, which I think is 3 different pulls through my draw plate. So we'll do that. And I'm not going to anneal between any of the pulls. So by the time we do that, it's going to be really stiff and springy, and I'll show you that when we're done. And then what I'll do is I'm going to keep some of it for ear wires, but I'll cut a little piece off and we'll anneal it. And then you can see how it's squishy again. So let's go do that. So I've already put a little wax in the little holes here, and we'll start it at, this is 18 right there, so we'll go to the next one since this is already 18. Just pull that through with my draw tongs. Okay. We need to go 2 more, I believe. There's 20 gauges right there, and there's 1 more between that. Let's see if we can get it through there. I may need to file the end thinner after I get through with this one in order to fit it into the last hole. But this is getting significantly longer and skinnier as we go. So I can already tell it's really springy now. Okay, so let's go back over to the main area and look at this piece of wire. All right, hopefully you can see how much different this is. It's really springy now and pretty stiff, and if I was to bend this too sharply or too much, it would definitely break. It'll crack because it's much harder and springier now. So, and I do want some of this for ear wires that way, because you don't want really squishy ear wires. But let's anneal some of this just to see how it works. Now, I think the temperature you're supposed to bring it up to is about 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is 593 or somewhere thereabouts in Celsius. And what we do is we want to get it up to that temperature, kind of keep it there for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and then we'll let it cool down until it's dark gray, and then we'll go ahead and quench it after that, and it should soften it up some. So let's heat this up. You'll see as I do, this springiness here will start to kind of fall out. You can't really measure the temperature unless you have a special device to do that, so we're going to use the way the metal looks to kind of tell. And usually it kind of turns sort of grayish, and then you'll see it gets a little red hue to it. Call that dull red. Can you see the wire over here slumping as it's getting softer? So you want to get it to that kind of dull red color. If it starts getting shiny, you're getting it way too hot, like liquidy on the surface. Then at that point, you're getting it so hot you're probably going to melt it if you don't move. So, and that's probably long enough. We can let that cool off a little bit, and then we'll just dunk it in the water, and then it should be a little bit more malleable again, which is kind of what we want. The situations where you might need to anneal things, if you've been bending something over and over again and you need to bend it further, but you can't get it to bend any further because it's so hard, like if you're doing a really thick ring band or something, sometimes I would get it part of the way there, anneal it, get it the rest of the way, because you just couldn't bend it any further until you annealed it a little bit. So that's usually what's going on when you need to anneal this. You just things have gotten so work hardened that you don't want to crack it or break it by bending it further. Or if you're using your rolling mill to roll out some sheet or something like that, that's a good time in between different, you roll it once or twice and then anneal it and pickle it and then roll it once or twice. So now you see when you bend it, it's not springy anymore. It stays. So now it's way more easy to bend and stuff again. So that's really all there is to annealing, but it is certainly a useful thing to know about. Tell me your tricks if you have any to do with work hardening or annealing. I'm always excited to hear new ideas from different people, because I certainly don't know everything, and I really appreciate learning new stuff from you guys as well. So. All right, well, that was a little bit of information about work hardening and annealing, and I hope that was useful to you. As a beginner, when I came in, I didn't really understand that kind of stuff until someone explained it to me. So hopefully you can put that information to use. If you did find it enjoyable and useful, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button for me. That really helps to get my channel promoted, and I do appreciate that. I'd also love it if you'd visit my main channel page. I have tons of content over there. I've been doing 3 videos per week for about 4 years now, so there's quite a bit of stuff there. There's lots of projects, there's lots of skill stuff, there's some tricks and tips. Check it out. It's got a lot of useful information over there for people of all different levels, I think. I'd also like to thank some people. I wanted to thank my patrons over on Patreon. They are my core group of supporters. They're a marvelous group of people that I really respect a lot, and I so appreciate the kind of environment that they've created over there. It's a nice place where we can share ideas and kind of swap stories about jewelry and stuff like that. So it's a great knowledge base that I tap into all the time. So I want them to know that I really appreciate that. And I do also appreciate the financial support as well. So the other group are my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 26,600, I believe. That's amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you for the great comments, the constructive criticism, ideas for videos, telling me how you do things. just telling me your situation and story is always really nice to hear. So thank you for those. Those are really nice and heartwarming. I also appreciate the financial support. The buy me a coffees, the super thanks, the merch store purchases, or people buying my ebooks. All of that stuff is a great way to support my channel, and I do appreciate it so much. The other thing is, before you leave, you might want to check out the video description down below. There's information about this video, but there's also some important links. There's a link to my Patreon, should you be interested in finding more out about that platform over there. There's a link to my newest ebook, which is a guide to 2025's tutorials. So it has a page for each of the tutorials I did during the year 2025. And each page has a link to the video, but it also has a picture of the sketch that I did, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials to make the project, stone information if it has a stone in it, a difficulty rating, however subjective on my part, and some notes I made about it, things I might have learned from that project or how I might do things differently if I was to approach it again. So anything that I might have gotten out of it, I try to share with you. So it's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects at your fingertips and a nice way to support my channel. Finally, there's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks or some other merch. There's lots of cool stuff over there. So, all right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.